this is your 3rd year on the Soundwave tour, which is kind of cool. It's a good triple whammy. One of my flatmate actually said that the set list you did with Slipknot last year was basically all his favorite songs at once. So do you kind of give it a lot of thought, sort of getting into the sort of set list kind of thing, or are you kind of focusing on the new record with Stone Sour today? Or
with Stone Sour, yeah. I mean, when we came down last year with Slipknot, it was more about kind of embracing the audience and letting them kind of share in the celebration, obviously, of Paul, you know, because I mean that's kind of what we've been doing for the last couple of years. But with Stone Sour, you know, with the new music and whatnot, we wanted to try and get a good balance of like the stuff that people want to hear, and then the stuff that like we want to play off the new album. And honestly, they're both getting really good reactions. So I'm ecstatic. Let's put it that way. So it must
feel good. Like you basically went into the studio with House of Golden Bones after the Soundwave tour.
Yeah, went right in, absolutely. And it was crazy because I was down here and all I could think about was like, we're going in the studio. So I was like so stoked to be able to come back down and play this, you know, like 1 year ago, basically, to give everybody what was going on in my head at the time, you know.
Was it kind of being in that sort of musical environment, that crucible environment, was it kind of like inspiring in terms of being like absorbing musical things, or?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, when you had a project this big, you know, between the 2 albums, and the short story, and then the comic that's coming out, I mean, you kind of forget the fact that you've got all this great music, you know. So you get excited about telling the story, but at the same time you get excited about playing live and, you know, how people are going to react to certain songs, like Rumor of Skin, you know, getting the audience to clap along and stuff, and they really, really dug it. So yeah, I mean, you hope that they get into it as much as you do.
What's that song about?
That song is actually the first appearance of the character Alan in the short story. So it's him basically kind of setting the record, like, you know, screw you, you're not the only guy around here who knows what's going on, you know. So it's good.
That's cool. So you've been feeling kind of creative, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, we were talking earlier. I just turned my 2nd book in, and I'm hoping that's going to come out in like early fall, maybe late fall. Just wrapping up the comic books and whatnot. And I'm still hammering out a couple of scripts for LBF, which is me and Clown's production company. So
killer.
Yeah, I don't know when I sleep, but apparently I'm getting enough.
Well, you know, I remember you saying like on the Stone Sour tour a couple of years ago that Vinnie Paul basically said you're living for 2 now.
Yeah.
And that's and you really are.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, it's a lot, you know, but it's all worth it, you know. At the end of the day, it's worth getting out there and just trying. I mean, anything that comes to your mind, you just go out and try it, you know. No matter what happens, just try it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's that sort of inner self-censor. I find sometimes like experiences with mortality actually kind of cripple your self-censor a bit, so you feel a bit freer to kind of go, well, you know what, life is short. Like you got to kind of get out there and like express yourself, because that's what makes us human, is telling stories.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely makes you take stock, you know, and it makes you kind of look at things clearer. And realize that, you know, if you're holding yourself back in life, who wants regrets? You know, who wants these handful of regrets in life? So go out there and do it, you know. And
break your golden bones.
Exactly.
Leave a house of golden bones behind you, essentially.
Oh boy, that'll start to smell after a while. I got to be honest.
So yeah, for me, like, compared to sort of your earlier records, like earlier in the piece in your career and stuff, you had sort of quite a delineation in Stone Sour between like these sort of really soft, emotional, sort of piano-driven kind of pieces and really hard kind of metal songs. And I feel like there's this massive alchemy happening on House of Golden Bones where the 2 elements are kind of coming together, and it's not, you know, you've got that kind of raw vocal, but also that kind of sludgy. Do you feel like there was an alchemy and a kind of a, you know?
I think everything kind of came together just when we needed it, you know, especially for this album, because when I started kind of sketching out what the short story was going to be, it triggered like all this great music.
So we came first.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I just started kind of demoing songs, and then I sat the guys down. I was like, look, this is kind of the scope of what I wanted to go for, and they really got into it, and they brought all this great music in, and we reworked a lot of stuff that we'd kind of had like hanging in the background for a really long time, and yeah, I mean, everything really rose to the occasion. Not just us, but like the songs and our performances on the album. I mean, it just felt great to know that we were doing it, you know.
You know, Paul was such a big songwriter in the band. Do you feel like you're kind of, I don't know, like have you evolved? What did he teach you as a songwriter?
You know, I mean, the great thing about Paul was that not only could he write, but he could take other stuff and make it better. You know, like he would just have these uncanny ideas, almost like an alchemist. But he was really good at that. You know, he could understand how something could transition, and he would make subtle little differences just to kind of break it up and give it a natural kind of modulation. You know, yeah, exactly. So. We've got so many writers in the band that...
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it really is. But I think because we all know how we write and we know how to kind of make stuff work, I think we'll be okay, but it's going to be weird without him there, you know?
Yeah. Mariah from Slayer, he was talking about, like, feeling really those inspired moments when you know a record's really going to work. You know in the studio, you don't, like... You know then, like, that it's going to be magic. And
a lot of people, you know, they hope that it's going to translate live later, and it's like, well, you can't have that, man. You got to capture that emotion, and you got to capture that lightning in a bottle in that moment, you know, because then everything else is extra, you know. Like, if you've got it down, you've got that. I mean, that's your recording, so it's got the excitement right there in it, and then everything else afterwards, whether it's live or doing a video or you know shooting something. I mean, it's all extra, and it's naturally going to have that vibe.
Would you guys like make a film or anything about this story, or is that the thing? Or?
Yeah,
I can see it in your head actually.
Two films,
yeah.
And yeah, it's. I think between the short story, the music, and the comic book, I'm going to have a good basis for a script, and I'm actually starting to kind of lay the foundation for that. Amazing. Right now. Yeah.
Would you be in it?
No, I don't know, to be honest. Maybe in a cameo, like here and there, because there's enough.
David Lynch style.
Yeah, there's enough characters in the story itself that we wouldn't even need to be in it, and it would still be entertaining, you know. Yeah. And it's going to be a very, very novel approach. It's going to be live action but animated. So it's going to be real, like it's not like
live action but animated.
Yeah, exactly. It's we film it and then we animate the film, the live action. So it's going to be pretty sweet.
I'm really excited to see it. So that's obviously going to take a while to pull together and all that kind of stuff.
That's going to take a little bit. We'll probably start getting it together next year sometime. We're going to be touring up until next year anyway. And I figure in the time that we kind of start working on the movies and we end the tour, that'll kind of run itself, and I'll be able to kind of skirt off to Slipknot and start working on some new music. So.
Oh, killer! That's really exciting. So you guys been kind of thinking about that, and
yeah, a little bit. You know, we're kind of throwing ideas at each other and whatnot, but I want to kind of save that energy and get us all in the same room again. You know, like the way we used to in the old days. Yeah. And just start throwing ideas at each other and just seeing what happens, you know, because that for us, that's going to make it really frenetic and really exciting,
One of the things, like when I was researching all the bands on the tour, like Linkin Park say they never get in a room together. Yeah. They all do parts sort of separate. And I don't know, I kind of like, when I'm making things, I like to, you know, I like the human contact and the, you know, the eyeballs and the humanity of it. I don't know whether I could do that. But you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. You know, whatever works for you. Yeah. No, I think there's something really earthy and exciting about. Yeah.
I mean, whatever works for you is you know, that's to me it shouldn't be the standard though. You know, I mean, if you're doing demos, that's one thing because then you can kind of get the ideas out, you know, and then you plan for it. But everything should naturally change. Once you give it to the band and it starts to kind of get shredded up and turned into a band piece.
It's like alchemy.
Yeah, exactly.
The House of Golden Bones for me, it feels like it's got a lot of Alice in Chains dirt. Like I know that's all a part of the press and stuff, but it literally did make me feel that because you went and saw Alice in Chains back in the day. Yeah, I did. Did you not?
I did. I saw them actually with some of the bands that are here. I saw them on the Clash of the Titans tour. And they stuck out like a sore thumb, like nobody's business. I mean, but maybe me and like 7 other dudes, because I mean, it was this brutal heavy metal show. Like you had Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and then Alice in Chains, and we're just. I mean, I was mesmerized. They were so good, but nobody else like got into them. Like they were just like whatever, dude. And I'm like, shut up, dude. I'm throwing elbows. I'm like, shut your mouth. And then they went on to be, I mean, just amazing, you know, a huge influence on me. I mean, just not only as a band, but as songwriters and whatnot. So yeah.
Emotion for me like that. It's just like you feel it. Like it just, I can't listen to it. If you can pull you down sometimes.
Exactly. And it's so different, you know. I mean, it was so different from anything that was going on. It was so minor, and yet everything would just naturally lift, you know. And it just felt so good. But it was sludgy and heavy, you know. I was like, oh.
So, House of Golden Bones, like part 2. Like, what's the vibe? Where are you going here? How do you make that many songs? Like, yeah.
Part 2.
How do you make that many songs?
Actually,
wow.
Part 2 is actually more dynamic.
Yeah.
It's more complex. Has more of an orchestral kind of vibe. It's a lot heavier in a lot of ways. It's a lot darker in a lot of ways. Yeah, I mean, it's sick. It's to me, like, part 1 feels like an amazing hard rock heavy metal album.
Yeah.
Part 2 has that, but it also feels more like a movie soundtrack, and it really moves the narrative a little more. And it's, to me, it's my favorite of the 2. So I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, that's killer. You're making movie soundtracks now.
I'm working on it. You know. I'm no Trent Reznor.
Dude, I was just thinking. I'm like, hey, don't you love Trent Reznor? He's like, yeah, I did 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna do a movie score. I'm just gonna win an Oscar. First time.
Whatever, dude. Can he just not be awesome, like that awesome? I mean, God, you leave a little awesome for the rest of us. This is stupid.
Which kind of bands are you keen to check out and watch and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, a lot of the bands that I want to see are actually playing while we're playing. I'm like, of course, you know, like The Sword.
Are we going to the beach with them next week?
Oh, really? Oh, God, you gotta tell them I love them.
Yeah.
Tell them. Corey Taylor loves The Sword. Love it. I'm good friends with Anthrax. Good friends with the Slayer guys, obviously. Metallica. Might catch Perfect Circle.
So the new book coming out fall, I can't remember when is that?
Maybe early fall, late fall, somewhere in the fall.
Again? Because you live in a whole other hemisphere. You mean your fall?
Yeah, my fall.
I was like, and we don't even use that word.
Well, it's not mine, it's ours.
Yeah. So late in the year, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this more like is this your autobiography kind of vibe or no?
No. Those things
story.
This thing still bore me. If you're younger than 40 years old or 50 years old, you shouldn't have a biography, dude. All right, you're like halfway done. Like Tim Tebow, the American quarterback, wrote his book at 22, and I'm like, whatever, dude. Yeah, it was so ridiculous. No, the new book is about my experiences with paranormal activity, actually. So I'm telling a bunch of stories, and then it's me kind of trying to figure out what they could be, you know? And then also being like, you know, how can I have this real strong belief in these things and not in God? So it's a very, very weird book. Yeah, it's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Heaven, and it's definitely going to piss people off. So.
Are you atheist or agnostic or?
Yeah, I'm atheist. You know, like my look at it, I don't try to figure out what they are from like a mythic point of view. Like I go very scientific. Like there's a couple chapters where like I really try to use like the laws of thermodynamics and the EPR paradox, like all this crazy stuff to kind of figure out what this energy is, you know. So. You know,
you're a good writer. You're very verbose. You create a story.
Is that a nice way of saying I have a big mouth?
No, it's nothing. Hey, dude, I have no inside voice.
I have no inside voice.
voice.
Me and you both.
Yeah. I'm like,
We're